Hi, this is Marlene, astrologer extraordinaire, and I wanted to talk about Venus and Gemini. I started to do a video yesterday, and I can't tell you how many times I got interrupted by so many different weird things, even like a big fly that just, came right, right up into my face, into my sphere while I was trying to talk and engage, and not one that just flew away and was gone. He just, was being a nuisance. So I had to stop. And then there were multiple other things that I won't even go into. And one was my cat, Matthew, my cat. So I decided to post that anyway because it was very spontaneous. And this video was going to be about Venus and Gemini. And Matthew all of a sudden decides to be extremely talkative, which is a trait of Venus and Gemini, incidentally. Now, when I'm talking about Venus and Gemini, is in Gemini in the sky right now. So whenever a planet moves into another sign, what it does is it takes on the energy of that sign. So Gemini is a mercurial sign, and Mercury has everything to do with communication, how we communicate. Gemini is left brain, and it's very high speed data processing, like a computer would go. It's really quick. So previously it was in Taurus, which operates more methodically and slowly, but in Gemini it really picks up speed. So right now this might be a good time, to go to events, or maybe you might want to call a friend that you haven't spoken to in a long time, have a conversation. Also, maybe you might want to like go to a Starbucks or something, have a coffee, do your work on the laptop, and just have a friendly chat with somebody to your right or to your left. You don't know what may come about from that. Now, speaking of that, the other thing that I wanted to mention about Venus in Gemini is, if you are a Gemini or you're Gemini rising, now this would be a really good time to put yourself out there. Now, Venus does go into Cancer at the end of the month, June 30th, it moves into Cancer. So from now until then, this will put you in the spotlight. Again, this is if you are a Gemini or you're Gemini rising. So I would say this would be a good time to put yourself out there, especially if you're single, because it does make you a lot more attractive to whether it's the opposite sex or, it's the same sex or whatever. It doesn't matter. Also, this could be for job prospects as well. So just, whatever you're trying to obtain would be, people are going to look at you more favorably than they might look at somebody else. So I would put myself out there and do that. Like I said, if you're single, maybe you might want to go into that Starbucks. Maybe you'll meet somebody different, somebody that you've never met before. And I will also mention that Mercury is about to go retrograde. It's not quite there yet, but we are in the shadow period of it. So you're going to see a lot of mishaps, which explains too, yesterday, I literally made about 12 videos and none of them was right. It was it was so absurd, the amount of interruptions I had. And then of course with the cat interrupting me. So today I'm inside because I already tried outside and he's nowhere to be around, but then all of a sudden I start videotaping and then here he comes. So I said, oh no, I'm not doing this all over. So with Mercury retrograde being in the shadow period, it usually begins right about 8 to 10 days ahead of time. You're going to start noticing that. And we have Mars is in Virgo for a little bit yet. And so that really kind of tends to put a few more kinks in things, because with Virgo, it's a very pedantic sign. So it tends to really slow things down and, make more of a meal out of it. Now, it is a great energy if you want to get things organized, because with Mars and Virgo in the sky, that definitely has everything to do with organizational ability and, crossing the T's, dotting the I's properly, like editing. That's a great job for editing, going over a resume, rechecking, maybe you're writing a book. That's another Venus and Gemini thing. And Virgo tends to like writing as well, because both of those signs do share rulership with Mercury. However, it just moves at a faster speed when it's in the planet of Gemini. Another thing I wanted to mention is some of the qualities of Gemini, like maybe you are a Venus in Gemini. Those are people that are, I like to call, information junkies. They're always collecting information. They have a nose for news, a way of getting information very quickly, sometimes more quickly than other people. And they're like, well, how did you get that information so quickly? Or I've been trying to get that for a little while and I haven't been able to, and you just got it like that. That would be a Venus in Gemini person. Or, maybe they have Mercury in Gemini as well. So they might have a lot of research abilities, very investigative qualities, because with Mercury there, that means that person also thinks like a Gemini. Now, I'll put a little note to that. Just because you are a Gemini or have Venus in Gemini, or maybe you have Mars in Gemini or you're Gemini rising, does not mean you think like a Gemini. So you could think like a Taurus, and or you could think like a Cancer. Those are planets each on the other side of that. And because those are the probabilities mathematically, we can also go one sign back, either because Mercury tends to go retrograde 3 to 4 times a year. So the probabilities, there can only be 5 probabilities with Mercury and what sign it's going to be, depending on what time you were born. So another quality, they're very curious about things. They might ask a lot of questions. Generally, they like to learn. Usually could be academic. They might be well-versed on a lot of subjects because, frankly, they have interest in just about anything from A to Z. You never know what somebody that has planets in Gemini could be interested in. And many times they have more than one job. Like there's this thing about Gemini with 2 dualities. So I've known many a Gemini type. When I say Gemini type, again, I'm just talking about the personal planets, and that would be Gemini rising through Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, and Jupiter. Those are your personal planets. So as a matter of fact, most Gemini types that I know do have more than one job, and there wouldn't all be full-time jobs. Most of the time, one of them might be full-time. Another one, maybe it's a sideline they have or a passion of theirs that they're promoting, or maybe it's just 1 day a week job, or maybe it's just a summer job. So anyhow, I wanted to talk a little bit about Gemini and throw in the fact that things are going to start to get a little bit challenging with Mercury going retrograde. So it's going to take a little more patience than normal, because you might lose connection on your computer. It might take you a lot longer to get to the page you're trying to get to. Somebody gives you an address. The numbers might be transposed. Look out for that, because addresses and phone numbers, people transpose numbers a lot when Mercury is retrograde, and I mean a lot. So you really have to go over all of the details and check really closely. I call it the do everything 2, 3, 4, or 5 times sign. And when I say that, I mean literally. And like yesterday was a fine example of that, because I literally did, like, I think I counted 11 videos. It was it was absurd. So anyhow, that's a little bit about Venus in Gemini, and I'll catch up with you real soon.